Beneath the blinding reflection of thousands of beeswax candles in the Hall of Mirrors, the Palace of Versailles stood as the undisputed epicenter of global power and unimaginable wealth. To walk its endless gilded corridors was to step into a meticulously crafted illusion of divinity, where every marble pillar and frescoed ceiling was designed to overwhelm the senses. This was the ultimate royal opulence, a sprawling monument to absolute authority commissioned by a monarch who styled himself after the sun. Yet, behind the shimmering silk tapestries and the intoxicating scent of orange blossoms wafting from the orangerie, a vast, unseen world pulsed with relentless activity. The true human experience within these legendary walls was far removed from the pristine perfection projected to the outside world, defined instead by a complex web of rigid etiquette, fierce ambition, and astonishing physical realities. The daily existence of Louis XIV was an elaborate performance, beginning the moment he opened his eyes. The famous ceremony of the waking transformed the intimate act of rising from bed into a highly coveted spectacle of political theater. Dozens of the highest-ranking nobles gathered in the king's bedchamber, their status entirely dependent on how close they were permitted to stand to the monarch. The privilege of holding the royal shirt or presenting a basin of water was not a menial task, but a supreme honor that could secure a family's fortune for generations. Every gesture was choreographed with the precision of a master ballet, turning the physical body of the king into the literal and metaphorical center of the French universe. Living amidst this staggering splendor required a remarkable tolerance for an absolute lack of privacy. Versailles was not merely a sprawling mansion, but a densely populated, self-contained city housing upwards of 10,000 courtiers, guards, and servants at its peak. The grand public apartments, while visually breathtaking, were constantly overflowing with a chaotic sea of aristocrats, vying for a fleeting glance from the sovereign. Hallways buzzed with whispered conspiracies, desperate petitions, and the endless maneuvering of families desperate to elevate their standing. To survive in this gilded cage meant mastering a ruthless social hierarchy where a single misstep in protocol could result in immediate exile from the epicenter of high society. Fashion itself became a highly regulated instrument of power and financial ruin within this glittering microcosm. Courtiers were expected to display their wealth through an ever-changing rotation of staggeringly expensive garments, woven with real gold and silver threads and adorned with precious gemstones. The pressure to maintain this flawless, opulent facade drove many aristocratic families to the brink of bankruptcy, exactly as the king intended. By forcing the nobility to spend their vast fortunes on silk brocades and diamond buckles rather than private armies, the crown ingeniously neutralized potential threats, transforming fierce warlords into harmless, beautifully dressed dependents trapped in an endless cycle of conspicuous consumption. Sustaining this illusion of effortless perfection required an astonishing, invisible infrastructure. Tucked away behind the magnificent staterooms lay a labyrinth of secret staircases, narrow passages, and cramped mezzanine apartments where the reality of palace operations unfolded. Thousands of unseen servants navigated these dark, unventilated arteries day and night, carrying away waste, hauling massive logs for thousands of fireplaces, and transporting exquisite multi-course meals from distant kitchens to the royal dining tables. The sheer logistical triumph of feeding, heating, and maintaining this colossal estate was a daily miracle of human endurance, entirely shielded from the delicate sensibilities of the nobility who danced in the grand halls above. The sensory experience of the estate was a profound study in extremes. While the eye was endlessly treated to the finest craftsmanship the world had ever seen, from intricate marquetry floors to solid silver furniture, the physical comfort of the inhabitants was often entirely secondary to the visual impact. During the brutal winter months, the massive, drafty galleries became freezing caverns where wine was known to freeze solid in crystal goblets at the dining table. To combat the pervasive chill and the inevitable odors of thousands of people packed into a space without modern plumbing, the air was heavily perfumed with potent musks, burning incense, and the ubiquitous scent of blooming flowers, creating an intoxicating, overwhelming atmosphere that masked the harsh physical truths of 17th century existence. The culinary theater of the court was equally astounding, designed to project an image of infinite abundance. The grand public dinners were spectacular exhibitions, where the monarch dined alone at a magnificent table, while hundreds of courtiers stood and watched in reverent silence. Dozens of meticulously prepared dishes, from towering sugar sculptures to exotic roasted birds presented in their own plumage, were paraded through the halls by a small army of liveried staff. Yet by the time these extravagant creations traveled the immense distance from the subterranean kitchens to the royal lips, the food was notoriously cold. The true luxury of the dining experience lay not in the temperature of the meal, but in the sheer overwhelming scale of the presentation and the immense privilege of simply being allowed to witness the king take a single bite. The suffocating weight of this relentless public scrutiny eventually sparked a revolution in royal lifestyle, championed by figures like Marie Antoinette. Desperate to escape the crushing demands of the rigid etiquette established by her predecessors, the young queen sought refuge in the creation of highly exclusive private domains within the vast estate. The Petit Trianon, a neoclassical masterpiece gifted to her by her husband, became her personal sanctuary, a place where the crushing formalities of the main palace were strictly forbidden. Here, amidst meticulously landscaped English gardens and a rustic theatrical farming village, she cultivated an idealized, romanticized version of pastoral life, accessible only to a fiercely guarded inner circle. This pursuit of intimacy drove unparalleled advancements in bespoke craftsmanship and interior design. The Queen commissioned mechanical mirrors that could rise from the floor to block the windows, ensuring absolute privacy from prying eyes. Furniture makers, jewelers, and silk weavers pushed the boundaries of their arts to create delicate, highly personalized masterpieces that reflected her specific tastes, moving away from the heavy, imposing Baroque style of the past. The immense fortunes dedicated to these private sanctuaries fueled a golden age of French decorative arts, establishing a standard of sophisticated elegance that would dictate global luxury trends for centuries to come. Yet, even within these attempts at isolation, the inescapable truth of the court remained. Access was the ultimate currency, far more valuable than the gold leaf that covered the gates. To be invited into the intimate cabinets of the monarch, to share a private supper, or to simply be acknowledged during a stroll through the magnificent formal gardens, was the zenith of aristocratic ambition. The entire architecture of the estate, from the sweeping perspective of the Grand Canal to the intricate layout of the private apartments, was weaponized to control, reward, and punish the French nobility, keeping them entirely dependent on the radiant favor of the crown. The echoes of those bold ventures in absolute power and unparalleled luxury still resonate through the modern world. The Palace of Versailles transcended its role as a mere royal residence to become an eternal blueprint for extreme wealth and aspirational living. Today's mega mansions, bespoke super yachts, and highly guarded private islands are the direct descendants of this architectural masterpiece, all chasing the same intoxicating blend of breathtaking beauty, absolute exclusivity, and the powerful illusion of a world entirely bent to the will of its owner. Stripped of its romanticized mythology, the estate stands as a fascinating testament to the complexities of elite existence. The magnificent facades and manicured lawns hide a story of relentless ambition, incredible labor, and the profound isolation that often accompanies unimaginable supremacy. It is a brilliant reminder that the pinnacle of opulence is never just about the accumulation of beautiful things, but about the masterful, often ruthless orchestration of the reality in which one lives.